Hello, everyone. Happy Friday. Welcome to another Atomic Mass Transmissions Live. It's Friday. I can't talk anymore. It's the afternoon. We're almost done with this week. But before we end, I get the exciting opportunity to paint a First Order TIE SE bomber. This is from the new Fury of the First Order pack that's coming out very soon for X-Wing. So let's just dive right in and get going on this big beast of a bomber. So here's our SE bomber. Effectively, my goal here is to just do some flashing up. We're just going to kind of like take this paint job that's already there, looks really cool, customize it a little bit and take it up to 11. The idea here being that I want to change the fin colors. So the little like tie solar panel things, we'll shift those around, and then we will go in, do a bit of detailing. I want to like pop out the canopy. I think I definitely want to mess with the engine glows. We'll probably put some metallic like spot highlights and stuff on this, just to kind of like make it a little flashier. But overall, because I want to keep most of the original paint job there, and I just kind of want to like kick it up a notch. What I did instead of like recoating with primer or anything is I just simply took some of my matte sealant that I use to seal all of my paint jobs, sprayed that really quickly over the miniature itself. And what that allows me to do is it gives it kind of a primer layer without actually covering up any of the colors. So now everything will coat really well, and I'll have a really even, nice tooth and all that stuff going on. So if you're interested in doing this yourself on some of your X-Wing ships, highly recommend it. It's super fun to do. It's a great way to start learning or practicing skills, because you kind of get to paint by number in a way, because you can see everything that's there. But that's it. The one step there is to simply go in and do a quick sealant layer so that you do have that even primer coat so that the paint will grip really nice. And then you're ready to go off the races. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to grab some yellow Inktense, and I'm going to paint this all over the solar panels, the little tie wings that are currently white. And the reason I'm going to do this is I want these to kind of be like really, I'm hoping to make them kind of like really glowy red. So by doing the yellow ink first and then painting a wash of red over it, we're going to get this really nice, vibrant, orangey yellow and red kind of mix that'll hopefully pop really well, look really vibrant and cool, but this will take a little bit of time to dry. So we'll just start with this first. And of course, if you just wanted your panels to be yellow, or blue or green or anything like that, even red, honestly, because those panels are already pre-painted white, it is really simple to just dive right in and go crazy with a bit of an ink wash. You can see how this honestly could be enough. You can do the panels in different colors. You can go really crazy with this. So lots of options and opportunities here to kind of mess around with. And I'm just going to be a little bit careful, even though this yellow is too kind of weak to take over the dark hull color that is already on this tie bomber. I'll be a little cautious, just trying to keep it clean, so I don't have to do as much cleanup, because matching that hull color might be a little tricky. So that will be fine. We'll just kind of like knock this stuff in, and we'll just keep going. And it'll be really exciting. We'll go watch this happen. I hope everybody out there has had a wonderful week. If your weekend is coming, I hope you got some great plans and you're going to be able to do some fun stuff. Maybe get a game in or two of X-Wing, Legion, whichever one you play, Armada. Get some fighters on the table, blow some stuff up. That's always really good. And if your weekend already happened, well, I wish you all the best as you dive into the start of your work week. Not everyone's on the same schedule, so whatever works best for you, I hope that you're going to have a great next couple of days before we return next week. We'll be back on Tuesday as usual to start our week of streaming off. A lot of cool stuff still in store. If you are here wondering where BK's promised MagnaGuard spoilers are, they got posted on our social media already. So if you've missed them, or you haven't had a chance to check out Facebook, Twitter, all that good stuff, hop on there. You can see all of the currently spoiled cards for the upcoming MagnaGuard unit for Star Wars Legion. Many of the cards for this new Fury of the First Order pack have also been shown on social media. So if you missed out on that and you're curious what to expect from these upcoming new ships for the First Order, you can go check that out as well. These things are pretty cool. They might actually convince me to maybe dive in and do a little First Order playing because I've always been a huge fan of the bombers, both from the Imperials, like just Imperial TIE bombers to me were always really cool. I also really loved Y-Wings as a kid. I don't know. The bombers in general to me are just neat. Um, so seeing these super badass looking bombers come to X-Wing, I'm just like, well, maybe I could be convinced now to pick up some First Order. Because honestly, these things look anything but. They look anything but, like slow moving, weak target practice. These things look like they go toe to toe with any kind of X-Wing or other fighter and be just fine. Bombs or not, so. Okay. How about now? Are we back? We're back. Looks like my mic decided that it didn't want to play anymore, so that's what I get. So I switched mics. I think we're all good now. Everything's back. Great. Fantastic. Sorry about that. I don't know what happened there. So we just had a faulty connection and it came unglued, so. All right, so we're just going to keep this up. So what I was saying is, obviously, you see the ship from this angle all the time when you're playing, so you don't really have to spend a lot of time or any time working on the bottom of the ship if that's, if you're just trying to like knock something out really quick, or you have limited amounts of hobby time, which everybody's time is precious. So spend your effort and your energy on the parts where people will see the most, and then you can kind of like dial in the stuff that won't be as visible or noticeable to people as you as you have time or the desire to do. So the yellow is Scale 75's Yellow Inktense. So it's this one right here. So it's just a simple yellow ink. And I'm using the ink because A, it'll flow on really nicely and kind of wash into the crevices and stuff. And then of course B, it is super vibrant, and since I want to use this as an undertone for my red, the brighter that it can be, the more potent the end effect will be. The only downside is I do have to think about drying time, which is why I'm doing this first. So we'll kind of knock in these yellows, and then we'll let it dry as we work on the rest of the ship. And then we'll come back, and probably the last thing we'll do is we'll work on those panels again, even though they're the first things we started. It does look, I think it looks like an angry bee. I kind of really dig it. We could call him Yellow Jacket. Oh, that's pretty good. It's pretty good. All right, so there we go. So we have our yellows knocked in. And again, this kind of shows how super simple and quick these adjustments can be. Like we could be done here and just be like, okay, well now we've got our yellow tie, we got Yellow Jacket, our tie bomber, ready to go for the first order. He's now different, and he'll look really cool and vibrant, and I can make buzzy noises as he goes, but let's keep going. So the next thing I'm going to do is I think I'm going to grab out some silver, and I'm going to use, what do I want to use for this? Not carbon. I think I'm going to use this. So I'm going to grab some thrash metal from Scale. My goal here is I'm just going to go in and I'm going to start picking out details that I think would be like metal gribble. So cables and all of that stuff, because everything, of course, on most X-Wing ships winds up as one or two colors. So I just maybe right here, where these little like tops are, I can come in and really carefully kind of knock that stuff out. And I could, if I wanted to, go in and do a dry brush of metallics and stuff like that. Oh, all right, well, whatever, we'll do this. Little mistake, but that's okay, we'll run with it. So I'm just gonna make this whole back panel thing metallic. Maybe we'll come down here to where these vents are, and we can knock those in with a bit of silver. So of course, anytime you do metallic, it's going to really pop, especially off of a dark surface. So again, this is going to add to that contrast, that visual excitement. I believe that yes, the Fluttercraft is confirmed support now. As far as development is concerned, that is where it sits. So looks like there was just a bit of a mix-up on the back of the box, and then of course that affected how it was presented on the web store, but all of the materials on the inside of it, it's a support option. So I believe that we got that corrected on the Asmodee web stores and stuff and everything else, but the game materials are all correct. For those wondering, do that. And there you go, see? BK just confirmed the only thing that's not correct is the back of the box, so definitely something that we'll fix in reprints, but not something that's going to affect its use in the game or any of the materials that you'll get with it. Do that. I'm going to do this thing right here. I don't know what any of this stuff is, but mostly I'm just looking for that raised detail to pop out with the silvers. Just give it that extra little flare, and then I do think I'm going to go a little bit crazier. You know what? We're going to do this. We're going to hit these engines, I think. These sublight engines, or whichever they are, they definitely look like they should be engines, even though they have that engine glow. So we'll add the engine glow to them, but we'll do these in silver too. I'll just crank that up. The Fluttercraft, I believe, is on the schedule, so you'll be seeing that. I just saw the studio painted one that Dallas had photos of. We got studio painted images, and I think they're in the mail now, for the Fluttercraft and for the Spider Droids, and they both look amazing. So that's very cool. I'm looking forward to Mini Stravaganza. We've got a lot of fun stuff I'll be showing off for both X-Wing and the Legion. So there's a lot of good Star Wars content coming there. And that'll be in September. I think BK's got some announcements about that coming. Okay, I'm gonna do these blaster cannons. Haha, I didn't call them the wrong thing. Save me a penny for my gun jar. I'll do these and just hit these in silver so we get that nice sinister pop at the front. Yeah, the painter who did the Fluttercraft did an incredible job on it. He painted all the wood paneling and stuff. Looks fantastic. Definitely worthy of these phenomenal looking X-Wing ships as well. Just gonna knock this in. I know Dallas last week did the Resistance X-Wing as a repaint, and that looked really cool. So again, we just thought it'd be fun to kind of show. We've done a lot of complete overhaul repaints on the streams before for X-Wing. We've done a couple, but not as many. Just kind of like adjustments. And so we thought that'd be kind of nice to do for here. So we just kind of show you how you can take what you get out of the box and with a little bit of work, just knock it up. I might have missed some questions because I'm not always looking at everything. So if I miss something, just let me know. No. Definitely not watching the, it comes, if you go back to the start of the stream, you'll see it. You'll see this beautiful SE bomber in its factory colors. All I'm doing is just taking the opportunity for the stream to kind of show how you can customize it to your own specifications. Come in here and I'm just gonna hit this. I'd never make it as a factory line painter. I'm not consistent enough. I kind of bounce around and I always want to do things different. I'm not a huge fan of painting the same thing 5 times in a row, much less, thousands of times in a row. I'd go nuts. I like hobbying because it's fun and expressive, and it just lets me be weird and do cool stuff. So, who knows? Maybe on a different day, a different Friday that wasn't quite as glum, I would have come in and been like, we're going to paint this bomber pink. Just because. And it's going to spread friendship and magic. Come in, knock that out, hit this. Going. I think I'm feeling pretty happy with what we have for the moment. We can maybe come in here and just... So in order to get kind of these raised areas, it's not actually as difficult as it might look. If you've never given it a try before, you just kind of really lightly run the edge of the brush across the surface, and because these like panels and stuff are so nicely detailed, the brush will just pick it up. So as long as you're really a light touch with it, super easy to do. And if you make a little bit of a mistake, that's okay. You can always grab a different brush, go back and clean it up. You can use a wash later on because we're going to be washing all of this stuff anyway. Because I do want to give a little bit of a wash to the metallics so we can go back through and kind of clean all that up as well. No problemo. So there's a lot of ways to kind of hide any kind of error or mistake you might make. And again, like I said before, I'm not really going to do any of this on the bottom of the ship because no one's ever going to see that. And this isn't going into like a competition or anything like that. It's just for me to have fun with and play with. And so even though there's a lot of great detail on the bottom of the ship, that you can hopefully kind of see outside of the little cup that's holding up my thing. Today is not the day where I'm going to spend a lot of my hobby time mussing around with that stuff, because it's just not worth it. All right, so I'm feeling pretty good about this. I think we'll do this line silver, that one silver, and then I'm probably going to call it, oh, let's just get this little gribble, whatever this text stuff is on the sides here, this nice texture. It definitely looks like it could be popped out in silver just to give us a little extra contrast, and that's really the name of the game here. All I'm trying to do is I'm just trying to add that extra level of visual contrast to the ship, and the easiest way to achieve that, especially on something like a vehicle that has a lot of really cool texture like this, is to just add extra silvers to it. And so now you have like all of that detail is really easy to pop. It's easy for the eye to pull across. So all right, so I'm pretty happy with that. I'm going to go ahead and let's go ahead and work on the canopy really quick. We'll just make that pop out really nice and just give it that extra level. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab some of this ball crimson, and I'm just going to very carefully this time my brush. I'm just going to start working that into the canopy sections. So the way I'm going to do this is I'm just going to focus more towards the center, and I'm going to stay away from the edges of each panel as best I can. And if I make a mistake like I just did, I grab a second brush, which I'll keep between my teeth, and I can just go back in and quickly touch up any of my mistakes. So again, I'm not even really trying to paint, like traditionally paint any kind of design. I'm just touching the brush to the area and then letting the paint do what it wants for the most part. And if I make a little bit of a mistake, I can just go back in like that and use my other brush that's damp to erase my mistake, and I can go back in and try again. I have to take everything off. So friendship wings, ooh, maybe that's the next one. Maybe we'll do the whisper with friendship wings. It could be a beautiful butterfly. I think somebody painting this guy like a monarch butterfly would be really cool. Or maybe like the death moth, the death head's moth. There's so many things that I think you could do that would be pretty amazing. Especially with how this bomber's like design is and the wingspan. You just have so much area to explore and play around with. That you're going to see how that really helped pop out the canopy a bit more. And we'll take this to the next level as well. So we got our first coat down. I'm just going to add a little bit more of that same color to the big center. I won't worry as much on the littler panels because they're pretty full up anyway. So now we have that nice going on. I'm going to grab an orange. So I'm going to grab this Tiamat Orange, and my goal here is to just go back in. If you're an old school hobbyist, or you've read some painting articles from like the 90s and early 2000s about how to paint gems, it's kind of the same thing I'm doing here. So I'm using that really dark, almost black color, and then I'm just coming in and doing a little bit less of my orange, like going to my red and then going to my orange. And if you want to get really fancy with it, you can follow the same kind of like light pattern, but I'm going to do a really quick glaze over this as well, so that's not as important. But effectively, By just adding that little bit of highlight color along the bottom, I'm going to create a reflective surface, hopefully. It kind of mirrors what you would think you would see as the light hits the surface of glass or a gem. And of course, down on these littler ones, it's like a really tiny amount. So we just use the steady hands. And come in, find my spot where I'm not going to come off camera. The camera always adds a little bit of extra dexterity work to it. I'm getting really quiet because I got to focus. There we go. Ooh. Pulled him off his base. Alright, so there, now that canopy is looking a lot sharper. And I'm going to grab a little bit of pure white, and I'm just going to go in, and again, really careful, I'm just going to add a little bit of a reflection dot to hopefully like completely sell the effect of the glass. And where I want my dot is the opposite side of where I put my orange highlight, so kind of like up there like that. And now it looks like we got that little bit of reflection in there. I could probably go through, try adding just a couple little dots to these smaller panels. And why not? It's Friday. Let's do it. So my paint doesn't dry out. So you want your paint to flow nicely off the brush, but you also don't want it to be super runny because it'll just go and capillary action will fill up those panels like really fast. And while that's really easy to clean up because you can just sup it up with a damp brush, a damp clean brush, it won't give you quite the control you want. So this paint is definitely a little thicker than like normal like blending and painting and stuff like that. If you get a little too much, you can try to go in and just fix it up a little bit. Go there. All right, so there's our canopy. Looking really cool. So that just like amped everything up, and now we've got this really nice looking red glass canopy that's got a bit of shine to it. Really liking that. I'm gonna grab some black. You know what? Yeah, I'm gonna grab some black wash, which was sitting around here a second ago. Now I gotta find it. There we go. So I'm just gonna use some pre-mixed Vallejo black wash. I'm gonna put this all over the hull of the ship, and this is just gonna help shade down a little bit of our silvers. And if we made a mistake anywhere, it's of course gonna help hide some of it as well. I like to add just a little bit of water to this. Again, we're just kind of going to run it mostly over the metallics, but it's okay if it gets... you could put this over the whole of the ship. You could use an oil wash if you wanted to. My only goal here really is to have this pool around the edging details of the silvers so that it helps give, again, visual contrast so we can really see all the fine detail that's been sculpted into this super awesome first order ship. And that's really what painting largely is about, is just helping the eye understand and see everything that's been there. So kind of just knock that stuff out. We get all cool, get it ready to go. And everything's hunky-dory. For those of you who joined us last mini extravaganza as well, it'll be important to get your squadrons and your fleets and your legions ready to go, because we will be doing another global campaign over the course of mini extravaganza. So for those who joined us for unconventional warfare, there will be a new campaign that will include all 3 of the Star Wars games that folks can play and help decide some important stuff for alternate art and all that cool things. I don't know what the final rewards are for the side that wins. I also don't even know if it's light side, dark side yet. They're still finalizing all that stuff. Michael Plummer and Will Pagani and Sarah, our amazing dev team. Plummer was the mastermind behind Unconventional Warfare, so I know he's got some ideas from the last one. I'm excited to see what those wind up looking like. But get ready, because you're going to have a chance to have an impact and play along with your teams over the course of that weekend, and it'll be a lot of fun. We had a blast doing the last one. I always love getting to do some online play stuff that kind of brings the communities together and lets everything feel cool, and I especially love the idea that we get to kind of join all 3 games in this cohesive way, because it makes the galactic conflict feel even more real and meaningful to me. So there'll be more information about Mini Extravaganza 2, again looking like September. BK will be putting out that in the next week or 2, I believe. So we just finalized our schedule and everything else. We got a lot of cool stuff coming. Where did I put that? There we go. Yep. All right, so kick that in off, and again, we'll just kind of wash all this stuff in with the silver. It's a nice differentiation. There'll be another place too if you want to go back in and like maybe do a little dark liner around your new canopy. You could, especially because that detail is nice and deep. So if you made a mistake, you could fix it with that. Good stuff. Okay, great. Cruising right along. It's 1:30. Let's move on to working on these panels, because I think our yellow ink is now dry. So I'm going to use some Vallejo Red Air. This is designed for an airbrush, but if you've watched the stream at all, you know it's one of my favorite ways to paint red. It works just like a high contrast wash. It's already pre-thinned down and it covers really nicely. So our goal here is just going to be to kind of tint our yellows, and this should give us a nice like red, yellow, orange. So I'm going to thin it down a little bit. We might have to work this color in, but we should see, kind of go through how that yellow undertone is going to help that red be super vibrant. So we're going to kind of get that mixture of between the translucencies and the red acting as a transparency, or the orange or the yellow. We're going to get some nice oranges. It's just going to make everything, so if we'd done it over the white, there's a chance that we would wind up with more of a pink, because the white undertone would have really like knocked it in. And of course, we could have done it over an orange, which would make it less vibrant. But what I like to do is just go for the most vibrant, and then we can tone it back with washes and whatever else we need to do if we decide we're too bright. Or we can do a wash of blue if we want to like tone it really back down and really desaturate it a little bit. But I wanted something that was just going to scream kind of glowy red. So you can see how also as you turn it in the light, you're going to get these different reflections and stuff. And as that dries, it's going to start to look really cool, I think. Especially for the amount of time and effort we have to put into it, which is, you know, effectively 2 coats at this point, and then whatever else we decide to do after it dries. And I'm all about, you know, there's a time and a place to
spend a lot of time and energy and learn a new skill and make a masterpiece, make your next masterpiece, as it were. But there's also a lot of times where I'm just like, I want to just do something cool and then I want to play with it. I want to get it on the table. And so you should never feel like everything has to be studio quality or match whoever you saw on the internet. That's not the point of the hobby. The point of the hobby is to just have fun, create your own cool miniature art, constantly improve your skills at your pace, and have fun. And sometimes painting a miniature or an X-Wing ship or whatever in 20 minutes is super fun and rewarding, and that's what I need in my life. So I want to knock out a X-Wing variant or a bomber variant. I want to do that, and I'm going to do it fairly quick to the point where I'm happy with it, and we're going to call it good. And there are definitely times where I'm going to spend 4 or 5 hours working on like my Legion commander or maybe a tank or a vehicle, or heck, maybe even just another TIE bomber. And I want to do a bunch of freehand and push myself and my skills to be able to learn a new technique, do a complete repaint like I did the way back when. It feels like now, but it was only a few months ago. We did a whole Galactic Republic Aayla Secura kind of fighter wings. So we took some V-19 Torrents and we took the Jedi Starfighter and we painted them all up in Aayla Secura colors. And that was a complete repaint for all 3 of those ships. And that was super fun, and they're like my pride and joy when I play X-Wing with my Republics. Let's see, we got a little yellow on the side of the wing, so I'll have to fix that. But that's okay. So the point being, never feel like you're measuring yourself against anybody but yourself. And ultimately, it's whatever you want to do that's going to bring you the enjoyment of the time. That's what you should do. Oh, I'll turn that so you can actually see what's going on here. Mostly more of the same. Just knock this in. This guy's going to be easy to spot, I feel like. He or she or maybe it, depending on the alien species that may be flying it. It really would be a he or a she with the First Order. They're not exactly super inclusive of the different beings around the galaxy. Really wants you to see them coming. Why not? I could play Legion with X-Wing ships. Seems fine, right? I'm sure you could make it work. Haven't tried it. Okay. Now what I have done, though, is I have played X-Wing games that link into Legion games, and that's pretty darn cool. Okay. Just get that really quick. Knock that out. See, BK is giving away all the dates for the big reveals, of which there are many. So, yeah, I think you can have some really cool stuff. I would love to see, or to play a game where, like, you play a game of Legion, there's a game of X-Wing, and then you can call in, like, bomber support. So part of the X-Wing game is getting the TIE bombers or whatever to the zone where they can do their attack run on the troops on the ground, and then if they get there, you get bomber support and all of that. Like, that'd be super cool. And that's the brilliance of miniatures games, right? You're not limited to just one way of playing. You can always come up with cool scenarios, narrative things, like stretching kind of your brain and way to do stuff. Exploring all the opportunities of your imagination. It's just fun. That's a big part of what we try to do with our organized play and in addition to just supporting like base game stuff where we can all go and we can challenge our strategic and tactical acumen on the tabletop and see who comes out on top in a battle of epic proportions that follows the core rules and everything. It's like, anyone can do that. That's really easy to organize and set up for the most part. There's cool prize support that can go with it, but doing a joint campaign system where you can have one game from one system impact a game from another system and all of that, that takes a lot of work. And it's something that we get the chance to do, and we can devote a lot of time and energy to if we plan for it. And I think it just rewards everyone in the community and all the cool collections that people have. The more opportunity you have to play with them, the better. Well, that's also the approach. Everything's important, but the base game is the base game. Ideally, if it's done correctly, it doesn't have to change that much, because it's all designed tightly and with that high level play in mind, as well as the fun kitchen table play and everything in between. What it doesn't technically support, because it's an entirely different game mode, is that crazy mixed bag or some kind of Vader down thing or an attack on the Death Star, a trench run. So many different opportunities to play outside the normal way of playing, and I think, well, those will never be the main way people enjoy the games. It still remains a really important aspect of a healthy and enjoyable lifestyle game, which these all are. Boom! Look at that. This ship is ready. All right. So we got about 15 minutes left. We'll let that red dry, and then we'll kind of go back in and start knocking stuff out. The next thing that I wanted to do is I wanted to grab some of this Mayhem Red. And there is a little bit of detailing on this ship that is a lighter gray in the factory paint job. So it's kind of like this piping here and everything around it. And I thought it'd be fun because we're doing the wings in red, just to kind of go back through on that stuff and change it up so that it matched our red wings. That's what I'm going to do here. Obviously I can't, because it's a darker color, I can't do the same thing that I would have done on the wings, and I don't know that I want it to be quite as vibrant, but maybe we do, we'll see. So I'm just going to come around and I'm going to use this Mayhem Red to kind of base it out. And whenever you're doing like a red, an orange, a yellow, you should always have a color that you can use that has really solid coverage over a darker color, and then you can build up to your higher primary from there. So like with the wings, we were able to just use that yellow ink right away because we were painting over a white. So the fact that that yellow is a really translucent, weak color, because the brighter your colors are, the more translucent they are, didn't bother us because we were painting over that light undercoat. So it all worked. If those wings had been more black like the body, we would have probably had to go through and we would either had to choose to do like a yellow ochre as a base, or we could have built up from an off-white, like a bone color or something like that, maybe like a cad key. But any of those would have been important. I'm going to do this piece right here as red too. Would have been really important to get really nice solid coverage and to make our colors really pop. And I think that's another one of the things that can really frustrate folks who are new to painting or haven't had the experience yet, is that if you try to just go in and paint yellow with yellow, it's not going to work. You're just going to have a really rough time. and it's going to be really frustrating. And so if you want to set yourself up for success, it's kind of like understanding how those undercoats work and how to get really nice coverage really quickly with that stuff. I just decided to paint this panel red too because I thought it'd be cool. Not because I had a plan, because I thought it would be cool. So for those playing in the chat, like, we don't really do podcasts or things like that. We do our streams. We like to do some games. We've done one X-Wing game since things opened up. I know there's plans to do a few more here in the future, but it's mostly just streaming, and then we like to chat and have dev panels and stuff during conventions, but for the most part, we don't have like any kind of podcast or anything specific like that. The community does an amazing job of kind of filling that voice in its way, and I'm kind of happy to just let folks discuss and, you know, speculate, have all the fun. All right, so nice and knocked in. Just kind of going back over with this color again, just kind of help. Again, all paint has some translucency. No paint is perfectly opaque. So multiple thin coats, you can build up a color. You don't always have to go to that highlight color. You can really change the saturation by just doing a few coats of the color, especially over a dark color like this, and build it up. And then once we have that color done, we can go to our normal red and we can start going over it, build up into a brighter, more vibrant red. Again, I think I want to kind of keep this a little desaturated compared to the wings. Just going to pick it up just a little bit through. Concentrating really hard, so now I'm not talking as much. Dealing with these more defined areas. There we go. All right, so we got that going on. We have our really bright solar panels. I don't know how much the camera is picking it up, but like there's a really cool transition kind of between the yellows and the reds and the oranges like I talked about. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to mix up just a little bit of blue ink and crimson ink. And I'm going to create a little bit of a shadow. And this is going to work out really well because we can try it down here to see how this affects things. And this would be the darker area anyway, so even if we wind up not liking it because it's too dark, it's a really safe test area because that's where it would be darkest. So just kind of knock in these shadows here. Deepen up. I don't know if I'll use this on the top. Actually, now that I'm looking at it, it's a little too much of a shade. So I think I might do is I might just go back and glaze a couple layers of crimson, like red, that Inktense Crimson over the top, just kind of like richen up the reds and mute a little bit of the yellows. That's all right. So now, like I said, we've kind of got this. We could actually do this here as well, because this one would be in shadow more. Kind of create that perception of light. Having our undersides being a little darker. That'll just be a nice little trick to help sell our visual appeal more. I like this too because I don't have to be super precise again because of that dark area color. This is pushed in the back so we can hit that as well, since that panel would be a bit more in shadow. So we'll just do that in the darker color. Knock that stuff out. And then I think we just need to go back through really quick, clean up some of these mistake areas that we have here, where we got a bit of that yellow going on. So I think if I grab just some flat black and mix it with a little bit of like a green gray, what we got here? Yeah, maybe we'll just use this decayed black. I think this will be pretty close to our color. So we'll just come in and we can touch up these areas where we had a little bit of yellow spillage. Just clean up our lines. It's another really big trick. This is just clean everything up, make it look nice and tidy. So just come back through and kind of like hit up these areas. Get this area here. Clean up this. And just eliminating any remnants of that white or where the yellow didn't get covered by the red. Nice and tight and clean. Careful to not slap it over the red. So I'm gonna come in here. And I got that. Come over here. That. Take a look. Just make sure we got everything. Okay, just a little bit on this wing. So we will come in. And even though some of this stuff is paneling, because it's dark and so bright, the contrast will push it to the background. So darker colors will always push things back because your eye assumes that things in shadow are further away from you. So you can use that to your advantage at times to just like mess around and fix mistakes or create illusions with the paints. It'll also explain kind of why certain things may not look as good. Because if you have a really dark color in front and a really bright color behind, it can play tricks on the eye based on how things are, how it sees the world. So we're just so used to seeing things the way they naturally look to us all our lives. Our brains get lazy, and so they just kind of see things that way all the time. And that's where illusions and everything come into play. All right. So there we go. Feeling really happy with this. The last thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to grab some of that Inktense Crimson. All right, so here's our Inktense Crimson. So this is a bit deeper than, it's a bit of a deeper color than that air color. And all I'm going to do is I'm just going to kind of like thin it out just a little bit. I'm going to glaze it over our red panels here, just to help kind of like smooth everything out and darken them up. This especially will go into little cracks and crevices and stuff. And I'm just going to do this over anywhere we didn't do the one where we mixed the crimson with the blue. Oof, yeah. I don't know how much the camera is catching everything, but we have this really nice, there's this really nice transition of yellows and oranges and reds, and it's doing everything that I hoped it would in terms of these panel colors just looking like they're almost glowing. It's very cool. Very ostentatious of you. Now I have to come up with a new name for this pilot because it's no longer Yellow Jacket. That was different. Floor is Lava Man. I don't know. That's a terrible name. We'll figure out something. Fire bats. There's probably fire bats in Star Wars. Maybe. There's got to be some kind of like flamey winged creatures. There's everything else. I mean, for crying out loud, there's space whales. All right. Quickly get back through. Notice my wash is a little thick here, so I'm just taking a damp, clean brush, which is the same one I was using. I'm just kind of rinsing it out really quick. And I'm just going back through and smoothing out the wash. A little bit of water. All right, awesome. Wipe that away with my finger because it won't hurt anything. There we go. Sweet. All right, well, this turned out pretty much like I was hoping it would. Some very fiery, super cool wings going on here. With just a couple of ink shades. Got our nice dark kind of panel colors under there. I'll smooth those out a little bit because we got a little blotchy I see there, but that's okay because again, this is how you're going to see this ship all the time anyway. So we'll just kind of like probably one more wash of that ink is going to be helpful. Just kind of smooth out where you see these dark colors are, these little ring ones. We'll just do one more thing there. But otherwise, we got a nice slick looking canopy. We really popped out some of those really awesomely sculpted details. We didn't. Oh, we got 2 minutes left. Maybe we can do it. Let's go in and really quick do some engine glow. I'm going to go back to my off-white. I'm just going to smoosh in some of this off-white because I did say I wanted to do the engine glow. We'll be a little sloppy here. It's okay. Across here. Come across here. I really feel like this is supposed to have engine glow too, so I'm going to make it have engine glow, and then someone can tell me that it's not actually the engine. So once your white's in there, normally you would let it kind of dry, and then you'd put in your wash, but we're crazy and we only have like 1 minute left, so it's true, scorch, yeah, scorch. And then I'm going to take some of that yellow ink that's left on my palette, a little bit of red ink, and I want to make an orange ink for this glow. So, let's grab a little bit of this orange and work it in there, in here. Put it over here. We could do like a pink glow, a magenta glow, whatever. It doesn't really matter. Process is pretty much the same. this is the place where it's going to look a little mussy, but that's okay. Sorry, whites in our stuff aren't dry yet. So as that dries, go back in, pull a little bit of it away. The nice thing about this is if you're a little sloppy, and just feel like you got a little bit of that fake OSL going on around it. Now I just grabbed a little bit more crimson. I'm going to go in there and just run that around the edge. And come in here. Here. Just get a little bit of that. And this darker, like adding that crimson is just going to help that glow look a little bit more menacing and fiery. Ooh. There. So there we go. So just a really quick, kind of messy glow, but we blended everything together. I think it looks pretty good. Last thing I would do is once these inks are dried, which we won't have enough time for, is I would just go back in and then just take a little bit of white and tap it on each of those little like engine vents, and that will give us the impression that's where the hot source is. And I'll just give that, it'll give the glow just that one extra little bit of style. We might be able to quickly represent that, because why not? We're having fun, we're hanging out, this is great. Let's go right here and just really quick kind of tap in some like dots of white to show the hot spots. There we go. See on the side there how those extra hot spots really just take it to that, they really sell that effect, you know, and that's the trick when it comes to doing really convincing glow. It's pretty easy. Oh, not when you do that though. Just kind of clean that away. You just add those extra dots and you're ready to go. All right. So with that, my time is totally up. Have a wonderful weekend, everyone. I hope you enjoyed watching us paint a homage to I Like It BK Scorch. So this is our Thai SE Bomber for the first order, coming in the first order. Here, the first order pack for X-Wing. We had fun. I hope you're inspired. I can't wait to see what you all do with your X-Wing ships out there for repaints, whether you're just taking the existing paint scheme, cranking it up to that next level, or doing a whole new version of a classic ship design. We always love to see all that stuff. Hit us up on Instagram as well. We always go through that. It's so inspiring to see what the community is doing out there and to see all the games being played and everything else as we start opening up in the world. Till then, this is me, wishing you all a very happy weekend. Please stay safe, stay good to each other. We will see you next week, starting Tuesday at 1 p.m. Pacific, for more streaming from Atomic Mass Games. Till then, have a good one, and we will see you then. Bye.